Hey everyone, what's going on? Jeff here from Films at Home, and in today's video I've got a big time collection update to do for you. We've got some 4K, we've got some Blu-ray, we've even got some DVD, box sets, Criterions, Arrow Video, Mill Creek, some of my own purchases, you name it. We got 20 titles to go through in this video, so stay tuned for the long haul here, but it's going to be worth it. Tons of cool stuff to show off that I'm sure you're going to want to see. Now before we get started, if you like physical media and Blu-ray movie collecting, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. And with that being said, let's jump right into it here with some of the movies that I have purchased recently, and then we'll get into some of the review copies that have been sent to me. So the first few movies I'm going to show off here are all from the Criterion collection, and they're actually from a couple of different sales. Right now, the Barnes & Noble 50% off Criterion collection sale is happening in stores and online. And interestingly enough, Amazon has price matched most of them. So you're basically getting a 50% off sale on Amazon too, which as a Prime member might be a better deal. And Criterion also had a flash sale on their website last month for 50% off. So I got 3 of these titles through the flash sale on Criterion, and then I got 2 more that I just picked up from Amazon. The first one that I grabbed is Cat People. This is a classic horror movie. I first heard about this movie, it was on Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments. If you've never seen that special, it's from, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, but it's excellent if you want to get into horror and figure out, what some of the better movies are. But Cat People from Criterion, we've got a new 2K scan, a bunch of commentaries and extra features, and it's a black and white movie, one of the first horror film made for RKO Pictures. So it is, for the time, 1942, pretty scary and one of the biggest movies of the 40s. So definitely excited to have that in my collection. And then the next one is 1971. This is Straw Dogs, the original Straw Dogs with Dustin Hoffman. I love thrillers. I love really tense, suspenseful movies. Straw Dogs is one that I haven't seen, and people kept telling me I need to see it, and so Criterion finally, they had it for $20. It's a new 4K scan with an uncompressed mono soundtrack. Again, tons of commentaries, documentaries, behind the scenes footage, and it's just another classic movie that I needed to have in my collection. And Sam Peckinpah, the director, obviously very well known, and so happy to have this one. Spine number 182, and I sort all my Criterions by spine number. I have a whole shelf just for Criterions. Now the last one from this batch that I bought from the Criterion flash sale, it's a sci-fi epic classic, 1953, and one of their newer releases. It's War of the Worlds. This is spine number 1037. They just did spine 1000, I want to say, a few months ago. So this is a fairly new release from them. New 4K restoration, uncompressed mono, original soundtrack, also an alternate 5.1 DTS HD. The cool thing about this is it also has that 1938 radio play of the War of the Worlds, which was narrated by Orson Welles. And that's when people freaked out and didn't catch the beginning, where it was a fictional story and thought something was really happening. And there's a crazy story about that. And then there's an interview from 1940, which is a discussion between Orson Welles and H.G. Wells about the adaptation and the novel itself. So really interesting behind the scenes stuff on this, which is awesome. And a huge reason why you collect Criterion collection is for all those extras. Now for what I got from Amazon in their little Criterion collection sale. The first one I grabbed, this is a newer movie, 2018, from Alfonso Cuarón, and it is Roma. This was an Oscar favorite in 2018. I'm pretty sure it won Best Foreign Picture, but it's black and white, Dolby Atmos mix, new 4K digital master supervised by the director, all kinds of documentaries and behind the scenes, and a huge booklet, and it comes in this really nice slip case. It actually has it's a pretty heavy case. Now the only issue is I may contact Criterion because I don't know if you can see that, but it's ripped up on the spine, which really sucks. Right on the spine where you want to display your Criterion collection movies, I got it all ripped up. So usually they're super good customer service wise about getting you just a new slip box if you need it and shipping it out. So I'll probably contact them and get that, no problem. And then the other one I grabbed from Amazon, again 50% off, meaning they're each $19.99 a piece. is Come and See. I had a viewer and a follower recommend this to me. It's from 1985. It is a movie from Belarus, and it has, I mean, it's not an English movie. It's got Russian, German, Belarusian, new 2K transfer, a few behind the scenes documentaries and interviews. But I was told this is one of the best war movies of all time, and I hadn't heard of it. I love World War II movies specifically, which this is about. And this tells it from a bit of a different perspective. Sort of from the Soviet side of, you know, World War II and what was happening on that side of it. There's lots of movies about you know, the Eastern Front, and, you know, what happened in France and Germany, and even in Italy and in Africa, and what was going on in Britain. And I don't feel like there's as many movies that tell sort of the Western Front story of the Soviets and the Soviet Union, and really the horrors of what happened over on that side. So I want to check this out. I've heard it's absolutely epic and incredible, and thank you for the recommendation. And for whoever did recommend it, I can't remember who, but I know it was a follower on Instagram and a viewer of the channel, so I'll be checking that out soon. And while I was in there on Amazon, I made a couple other purchases. One movie I picked up was Little Women, the new one from 2019. I actually saw this in theaters. My wife is a massive fan. She loved it. I actually thought it was pretty good. It has an amazing cast. It was nominated for 6 Academy Awards. I mean, it was it's probably the best telling of this story that I've seen. And Little Women is not something that I usually would enjoy. I've seen some other variations of it. It doesn't really capture my interest. I just have different interests in movies, and but this is one that actually did pretty well for me, and it was filmed, you know, right down the street in Massachusetts, so that's cool. And then also more for my wife, because I've never watched this show, but this was on sale. I got Downton Abbey, the movie. She loves this series. I know she saw this movie in theaters, and we didn't own either of these in the collection because sometimes you get a little bit selfish. You only buy stuff for yourself, but these two were pickups, you know, mostly for her, so we knew we had them. And then the last one that I purchased, and this came in really late, and I almost forgot that I had bought it, but it's from Family Video, Vinegar Syndrome. And I don't mean it came in late shipment, but it came in separately from the rest of my orders. And so I just had forgotten I ordered it, but it's Dolly Dearest from Vinegar Syndrome. I love these just cheesy horror movies, and especially if you got a killer doll, like, sign me up. New scan, restored in 2K from 35mm. It's got some interviews and behind the scenes stuff, and reversible cover art as always, and it's from 1991. So another great sort of slasher B horror movie to add to my collection from Vinegar Syndrome. Now the rest of these movies, TV shows, box sets that I'm going to show off, these were sent to me for review. So I'll go through some of these, but these are all either currently available releases, new releases, or upcoming releases. So this should give you a good idea of what's coming from some interesting studios like Arrow Video, like Mill Creek, as well as some more mainstream stuff. So the first few are going to be from Arrow Video, and the first one I have here is from Japan. And when was this movie shot? I can't remember. 1956 it looks like. It's called Warning from Space, and it's the first Japanese science fiction movie to be shot in color. So that's kind of an interesting from you know, historical standpoint. And it's about, you know, UFOs over Tokyo. It was newly restored and has the original uncompressed Japanese mono audio, newly translated English subtitles, which often can make a difference. And then it's got some commentaries and a newly restored English dub track as well. It's actually the first time it's ever been transferred to HD in America, so really cool, interesting piece of history. And you know, I love Japanese like horror and sci-fi, Godzilla, and then obviously all the horror movies that they've come out with. They have some interesting ideas, mostly because of their experiences as a culture, you know, after the bombs dropped and the nuclear, you know, fallout and things like that. So from a science fiction horror perspective, they have a very interesting perspective that almost nobody else in the world does. And I think that's why they make such interesting sci-fi and horror movies. Now, the next one up from Arrow Video is called The Deeper You Dig. And it's a newer movie from 2018 and stars the filmmaking family, the Addams Family. Not that Addams Family, but it's directed and stars them. Zelda Adams, John Adams. They also did Knuckle Jack and Rumble strips. And this movie's kind of a dark, really unsettling. It's got a lot of commentary on grief. There's the death of a a daughter in this and how the family's dealing with it. And it's kind of a haunting, ghost-ish story, but it's a limited edition double disc, so it's got a ton of features on it, which is great. It also has a double-sided poster, which comes in here, and the limited edition cover art and artwork. So I think it's only limited to, I thought I saw 2,000 copies, but that may not be true. Maybe that's one of these other ones. But either way, limited edition. The Arrow stuff always comes out limited first in a lot of cases, and that's where you'll get posters and slipcovers, and then they'll put out, standard releases after that. So I'm happy I have this. It's interesting sort of indie horror that, I like to explore. Now, the next one from Arrow, this is a 1984 sci-fi classic. This is The Last Starfighter. Love the artwork on this slipcover. It looks beautiful, and this is a newly restored 4K scan from the original negative, and has a 4.1 mix, which was originally created for the movie's 70mm release. So you're really getting like that ultimate theater experience with this. And that's never been included before on home video. So that's the first time on physical media. Home video has a ton of special features, and the new 4K scan, honestly, it looks really good. Arrow does a great job with their 4K scans. Even when they're on 1080p Blu-ray discs, they absolutely kill it. And this is no exception. So if you're a sci-fi fan, you like The Last Starfighter, this is one you're going to want to pick up. Now, the next one I've got is a little bit outside of Arrow Video's typical realm, but I have a feeling that Kevin Smith probably really likes their work and decided to go with them for this release. And it's a new limited edition release of Maul Ratz. So everyone knows Maul Ratz. This was his follow-up to Kevin Smith's follow-up to Clerks. Has a lot of the same cast, but this is really good because it has brand new restoration of both the theatrical and the extended editions, which were approved by David Klein, the cinematographer, and Kevin Smith. It has the TV cut of the film with the crazy overdubbing. It's got a collector's booklet, another fold-out poster, reversible sleeve, and then it also has the original DTS HD 5.1 soundtrack, as well as a bunch of stuff on disc 1 for special features, interviews, behind the scenes, outtakes, and then disc 2 is what holds the extended and the TV cuts, which are really cool, and they have introductions by Kevin Smith. They have a soundtrack, raw dailies, still galleries of the comic books, Easter eggs. So it's just an absolutely loaded release. And Maul Ratz is a Universal Pictures movie, so they're continuing to license stuff out to Arrow, which is a good thing for physical media lovers because Universal has a huge catalog of movies. I'm sure they don't have a team large enough or the resources to do, new 4K and new restorations on all of their movies. So they've been licensing out to Arrow on things like Flash Gordon and Pitch Black, and there's some other upcoming movies they've licensed out too, but Maul Ratz is just another one, and Arrow's done a great job with this release. If you're a Kevin Smith, Maul Ratz fan, you got to have this one. This is the ultimate Maul Ratz release. And now the last one from Arrow Video is called Cold Light of Day. It's from 1989. Now this is, I'm reading it. This is the one that's limited to only 2,000 units. So once it's gone, it's gone. You may get a standalone release, but this is the limited edition, a brand new 2K restoration from the original 16mm. So those are always interesting presentations. And then original uncompressed audio and a ton of special features per usual. Now, the interesting thing about this movie is about Dennis Nielsen, and it is probably underrated, underseen, underappreciated. I'd compare it to something they do on the back here of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. It's in that same vein. It's gory, it's realistic, it's disturbing, but it covers this real life serial killer, the British Jeffrey Dahmer, Dennis Nielsen. And interestingly enough, there's also a show right now on, I think it was on BBC, and now it's coming to AMC Plus. It's going to be on streaming, but it's called Des, which was his nickname, and it stars David Tennant from Doctor Who as Dennis Nielsen. And so he's notorious, but because he's a British serial killer, he just doesn't get as much coverage as these bigger American names like Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, BTK. He doesn't get the coverage they do, but man, he was a messed up individual, and this movie dives into that. And so I knew I had to have it as somebody who is super interested in the psychology and serial killers. Had to have this one in the collection, and being limited to 2,000 units, very cool, and such a unique unique slipcover where you've got like the floorboards and then the artwork underneath is actually like, you know, body parts underneath the floorboards. It's very interesting and pretty messed up, but a cool slipcover. So we got 7 more releases to go here, and I'm going to try to get through these quickly, but also make sure I talk about everything that I have. So this one is from ESPN, which means it's from Disney. Interesting, because we know Disney not doing the best with physical media, but a lot of people ask me this question. They're doing new releases. They're still doing animated movies on 4K. They're still releasing physical media. It's the back catalog live action stuff that we're worried about. So in this case, ESPN put this out, and ESPN does a good job with their physical media. I have the 30 for 30 set and some of the other documentaries, O.J. Simpson, that they've done, and this is no exception. This is The Last Dance. If you haven't seen this and you're at all interested in basketball, the 1990s, the 1980s, that era of basketball, The Last Dance is an incredible documentary. And even if you aren't a big fan of basketball, but maybe you're just interested in really good stories about sports, or you have any general interest in sports or really culture at all, The Last Dance is awesome. 10-part series, comes in this really cool booklet. The inside cover, you know, little flimsy, but I mean, the classic Pippen, Jordan, and then that opens up. It's got this magnetic cover, which kind of opens up into this larger release that then folds out into several different boxes, and it has some you know, really cool like extras and behind the scenes. So it's a nice set. I mean, I like the whole like the all white look, the real like basic all white. It's a pretty set, and it's an awesome documentary, so I'm glad to have it in the collection. Now, the next one that just showed up today is a 4K title from HBO and Warner Brothers. We've got Westworld, the 3rd season. HBO and Warner Brothers have put out the first 2 on 4K, and they've continued to do that here with season 3. I need to get caught up, so I have not watched this yet. But if I know anything about the other Westworld 4K transfers, they are really good. And again, like a Game of Thrones, you haven't watched Westworld until you've seen it on 4K disc. It is so much better than your cable box or HBO Go streaming can provide you. The 4K is the way to go. And thank you to HBO and Warner Brothers for sending this and continuing to support physical media for big shows like this on 4K. Now, the next couple are more, I guess, mainstream movies. And the first one is Peninsula. This is the sequel to Train to Busan, which I really, really liked. Excellent zombie movie. This expands on that universe. It's 4 years after the events of Train to Busan, and basically a soldier goes back to the peninsula where the outbreak was for a secret mission. So we've got this in 4K with HDR from Wellgo USA, who do an excellent job with foreign, especially Asian cinema, and their 4K transfers have always been solid, and this one is no exception. Very good 4K transfer, but the highlight for me, I think, is the Dolby Atmos. It is a movie that is full of sound, and this has a great Dolby Atmos track. So, you know, no expenses spared, awesome 4K, awesome HDR, but a Dolby Atmos track that honestly is near reference, and you'd think it was worked on by some major studio. Wellgo USA, they hold their own when it comes to that stuff. They do such a good job, and really you'd be surprised at how good this is with what I'm sure was limited, you know, resources and budget. Wellgo does an excellent job with their physical media releases. Then one more here on 4K. I've got Antebellum. This is a new release. I did a movie review of this. God, when was that? A couple months back. Not my favorite movie in the world. You can go watch my review and my thoughts on the movie itself. But the 4K is pretty good. It's got an Atmos track. It's got that HDR. It's a pretty good presentation. It's just not the best movie in the world. So another good effort from Lionsgate, but not really a movie I can recommend buying just because of the movie itself. And now the last 3 things we've got here, they're actually 3 box sets, and they're all from Mill Creek. The first one is really cool. It's the Rita Hayworth Ultimate Collection. 12 legendary performances. Rita Hayworth is a Hollywood legend. This has 12 movies, all on Blu-ray with DTS HD 2.0 tracks. You've got Music in My Heart, You'll Never Get Rich, Tonight and Every Night, Down to Earth, The Lady from Shanghai, The Love of Carmen, Affair in Trinidad, Salome, Miss Sadie Thompson, Fire Down Below, Pal Joey, and They Came to Cordora. So all the stuff on the back here, here's all your movies. Mill Creek just puts out awesome box sets and stuff you'd never think to go out and get on Blu-ray, they'll come out with, and you'd be like, damn, that's such a good idea. This is a great release. Awesome to have all these classic movies on Blu-ray in HD and on disc in your collection, because these are the types of movies that they don't get the appreciation they deserve on streaming services, which tend to skew newer and more updated. And, otherwise you may lose these if you don't get a company like Mill Creek putting them out. And in that same vein, I could say the same thing for this next box set from Mill Creek, which is Hammer Films The Ultimate Collection. 20 movies: The Revenge of Frankenstein, Stop Me Before I Kill, The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, Never Take Candy from a Stranger, Scream of Fear, These Are the Damned, The Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll, Stranglers of Bombay, The Terror of the Tongs, The Old Dark House, The Gorgon, The Pirates of Blood River, Sword of Sherwood Forest, Cash on Demand, The Snorkel, The Camp on Blood Island, Yesterday's Enemy, Maniac, Die Die My Darling, and Creatures the World Forgot. So it's got a 12-page booklet, all new from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, all new scans on HD. Again, the types of movies that streaming services are never going to give the time of day, but there's tons of fans out there. And if you're a fan of Hammer Films and Christopher Lee's in a bunch of these, if you're a fan of just Hammer stuff, they're classic movies that have seemingly gone forgotten a little bit by most people, but this is an excellent box set, The Ultimate Collection. I was so happy to have this as a horror movie fan. So they're all together, first time in HD, and such a great set. Great work by Mill Creek to put these all together in one complete box set with special features and commentaries on some of the movies. Really cool work. And then the last one, this is a DVD, but I picked it up because with TV shows, you honestly never know if they're going to stay on streaming or where to watch them. And this is a show I may go back and watch. I don't know much about it, but it is Franklin and Bash, the complete series. So if you're a big fan of this, Mill Creek's put out the complete series just on DVD. I was a little surprised. Usually they go with Blu-ray, but just on DVD for this one. But it is out there and available, and I don't think it's the easiest thing to find on streaming. So it's another one of those, you add it to your collection, you'll always have it. You'll never have to go looking for it. And if you're a fan, that's probably the best thing to do. So that's it for the collection update. Lots of movies, long video. Thank you for sticking with me through this. Really appreciate that. And I appreciate all the support as we're about to cross the 50,000 subscriber mark here. That is incredible. So make sure you are subscribed and turn your notifications on. There is going to be a big giveaway. We are talking about some very large prizes, some other small, medium prizes, but lots of stuff to be given away when I hit 50K. You're going to want to be up to date on that. Make sure you're subscribed. Follow me on Instagram. Check out all the other links down in my description, including links to purchase many of the titles I talked about in this video. I'll leave Amazon links, and those help support my channel. It's a great way to support me passively. And also, if you're interested, we got channel memberships, channel donations, all kinds of things open, as well as merchandise on sale. So lots of ways you can support, even for just a couple bucks a month. Becoming a member on the channel helps out a lot as I create more content on the side. This is not my full-time job, so I'm trying to, slowly build this up, which I've been doing, but it requires a lot of time and a lot of money out of my own pocket to buy equipment and upgrade cameras and lighting and just buy releases a lot of times to review. So I appreciate everyone who does that. It really helps and helps me create more content. But otherwise, thank you for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.